Everybody knows John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer. But what about the other guys? The lesser known, that are just as evil. Come along and explore them and learn some hard lessons with me, Brett, and my co-host and beautiful wife, Deanna. Each week, we will be exploring the dark minds of these people, also paranormal, conspiracy theory, and some cryptids. We hope you have as much fun with this as we do.
Hey guys, this is Deanna.
Hey classmates, this is Brett. Welcome back to episode 20.
Episode 20.
Of Hard Lessons. 20 episodes.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Considering we never thought we would have one.
Yeah. Who would want to listen to us talk, right?
Exactly. We are not the most... What word am I looking for? Popular, creative people in the world.
I give you that.
Yeah.
So, Teach, how was your week?
It was long. It felt like it was a month long. It was busy and exhausting. The good news out of it is that I finished the second week of this course. So,
Still carrying that 4.0?
As of right now, yes. In 3 weeks, I don't know.
No promises.
No promises.
Wow.
No promises at all.
I hear you. Life gets busy sometimes, and I don't know if anybody noticed or not, but we did not record an episode last week.
We did not.
So I've kind
Oopsie.
Oopsie. To make up for it, this episode is supposed to be a paranormal, but it's going to be a combination episode. It's got paranormal and true crime elements.
And true crime. Ooh. So is it going to make me a paranormal believer?
There was so much facts given. Mm-hmm. I don't know how anybody could walk away saying. But the skeptic here beside me.
I'm like, so there's a challenge.
Here's a challenge.
Okay.
Also,
I got you.
Yeah. There wasn't a lot of information on this case. It happened back in the 70s. And it was featured on a very popular TV show back in the 90s. But there wasn't a lot of information. So I actually found another case from back in the 1800s that has similar vibes to this case. So the platform we record on, classmates, only allows us 1 hour to record. And so time permitting, I've got information on that other case. We'll cover 2 in this one episode. If not, I'll save this other case for another date. But right now, I think we should go ahead and listen to Teach give us the more you know.
Heck yeah. I feel famous. Anyway, so the first one I want to do, there's actually 2. So here I go with the first one. When Robert Ballard, professor of oceanography, announced a mission to find the Titanic, it was a cover story for a classified mission to search for lost nuclear submarines. They finished before they were due back, so the team spent the extra time looking for the Titanic and actually found it.
So were they the first ones to look for the Titanic?
No, they weren't the first ones to look for the Titanic.
But they were the first ones to find it.
To actually find it. So the byproduct of the secret mission is that they actually found the Titanic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was like, what? Now, of course, watch none of this be true, and whatever. But
I think it's pretty.
yeah, whether it's true or not, it's pretty interesting.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I've got another one, and it's connected to education. So, starting school at 10 a.m. instead of 8:30, which I don't know who starts at 8:30. We start at 8:10, which seems like sunrise.
Way early.
Anyway, so instead of starting at 8:30 a.m., halves students' illness and improves academic performance. So starting later in the day actually improves performance, which I absolutely can see that happening. Being in education, you see all kinds of facets. Also, with this education aspect in mind, some middle schools, now it doesn't say where, but I'm interested to find out. Middle schools have removed bathroom mirrors to stop students from filming TikToks. I'm like, this is a brilliant idea. This would eliminate them wanting to go stand in the bathroom and primp and whatever they do and film TikToks. I'm all for this.
They actually film TikToks from the junior high bathroom.
Babe, they film way more than just silly TikToks and Snapchats. Don't forget about snaps in bathrooms.
Oh, yeah.
Just an FYI, and unfortunately, the male aspect of this films way more in the bathrooms.
Come on, kids, do better. I know probably no kids are listening to us. As a matter of fact, I know it's not, because the only age group in our demographics that we don't have any listeners is 0 to 18.
Yeah, they don't. But I'm just telling y'all, if you really want to know what's being filmed, just be creative, and you will have everything you need to know. Wow. All right. Let's get started.
All right. So, like I said, this week is a paranormal story.
Yeah.
And it's going to have some true crime.
Okay.
And so I titled this episode Beyond the Grave.
Beyond the Grave. That's so creepy sounding.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, we need that. Yeah.
That awesome theme song we have that our amazing son-in-law made for us.
Yes, part of that.
Kudos to Mason.
Yes. All right, let's get it.
All right. So, Teresita Basa.
Is this a person?
She is.
Okay.
She was born, it doesn't give a month or day, but she was born in 1929 in the Philippines.
Okay.
And passed away February 21st, 1977. I believe in Chicago. Yes, in Chicago.
Okay.
She came to the U.S. in the 60s in hopes of a better life, and studied music at Indiana University. She was very talented musically. But instead of following the music career, she became a respiratory therapist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems like different
sides
career paths here.
Yeah, maybe she saw, hey, I can make more money in the medical field and it's more stable. So
yeah, I totally agree.
Do the music on the side.
Yeah.
She worked at Edgewater Hospital just outside of Chicago. Famous patients. Frank Sinatra spent about a week there in the hospital. And Hillary Rodham Clinton and John Wayne Gacy were both born there.
In that hospital?
In that hospital.
Oh, cool. Hey, you know that fact that people usually come into contact with X amount of serial killers in their lives. So I'm wondering if there was any like, just because she worked there, but was she there when he was born?
No, he was born in the 40s.
Oh.
She didn't come to the U.S. till the 60s.
Oh, okay. So. Okay. Well, still interesting.
Still very interesting. Teresita led a quiet, unassuming life and gave piano lessons in her off time to neighborhood children.
Nice.
Yeah. Not only was she working at the hospital, but she was also, like you teach, working on obtaining her master's degree, except hers was in music.
In music?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's no way for me. No bueno, man.
On the evening of February 21st, 1977, Teresita spent about 30 minutes on the phone with her best friend, Ruth Loeb, L-O-E-B, Ruth Loeb. As she started to wind down the evening and talking to her on the phone, she said, "Hey, I'm expecting somebody to come by, so I need to go and get ready for that person."
Okay.
Just over an hour later, Teresita's neighbors, she lived in an apartment building.
Okay.
Teresita's neighbors called the fire department saying they smelled smoke. Firefighters arrive and put out a small fire in her apartment. As they're walking through and looking, there was a mattress laying in the living room floor. They pick up the mattress, and there is Teresita's nude body with a knife sticking out of her chest. She is deceased.
Yikes. This sounds like something I've seen on one of those shows I watch.
Well, funny you should say that.
Okay.
In the opening, I said it was featured on a show that was very popular in the 90s.
Okay.
On April 25th, 1990, it was on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh, there you go.
So, not for the true crime aspect of it, because the spoiler alert, it is a solved murder.
Yes.
But for the paranormal aspect of it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Despite how it looked with her being nude, police ruled out sexual assault pretty fast, and the autopsy results also showed there was no sexual assault that had occurred.
So it was negative for sexual assaults?
Yeah. Most of the physical evidence was destroyed, either by the fire or the firemen putting the fire out. But however, police did find a sticky note that said, "Get theater tickets for," and it had initials AS. Get theater tickets for AS. Remember this.
Okay.
5 months go by with no leads.
Okay.
She had a co-worker at the hospital that she didn't really know her well. They worked opposite shifts.
Yeah.
But they met at orientation. They went to work at the hospital at the same time, and they had an instant connection because this co-worker is also from the Philippines. Her name is Remy Bias Chua, or Remy for short. So about 5 months after the murder, Remy's husband Joe contacted the police department.
Okay.
Joe tells the police, "I need y'all to come to my house. I have a story to tell you, and I am not sure you're going to believe me."
Okay. Right then, I would have been like, yeah.
Yeah, that's in The Rookie.
Yeah, like literally. But then I'd be too curious, be like, no. Let's all go.
Let's go see what's going on. So they get there, and Joe states that Remy was taking a nap, but woke up in a trance-like state.
Okay.
She started talking in a voice that did not sound like Remy's natural voice.
Whoa.
The voice said that she was Teresita, and she needed Joe to call the cops. Said that she was murdered by a man that also works at the hospital as an orderly. He had come to her house to fix her television set.
Okay.
Urged Joe to call the police, and then moments later, Remy woke up without any acknowledgement of what had happened.
So she had no clue what was actually going on or what was said.
Exactly. Joe decided at that time he was not going to call the police, afraid that they would lock him up in a mental institution.
Or that was a terrible joke that his wife was doing.
Exactly.
It's the first thought I would have.
The next night, Teresita, quote unquote, returned to Remy's body and asked Joe why he didn't go to the police.
Because I thought it was crazy.
Yeah, Joe, I don't want to be locked up. Joe stated that, well, basically, I can't go without evidence.
Yep.
So the voice then said that after the murder occurred, this person she worked with at the hospital stole some of Teresita's jewelry and gave it to his girlfriend. Said that the jewelry is easy to identify because it was a gift from her dad from back in the Philippines. It had some turquoise in it and some designs.
And very unique.
Very unique.
Okay.
So a detective named Stachula, Stachula, he was unsure of his next steps. So he ran a background check on the employee and found that he lived only blocks away from Teresita.
Ooh.
He interviewed co-workers who said that this co-worker did go to Teresita's that night, and yes, it was to work on the TV.
I'm dumbfounded. Why didn't the cops know about this before now? Aren't they supposed to, like...
There was no evidence.
Yeah, but still.
Well, you would think. But, I mean, it's back in the 70s, so...
Okay. So no evidence means, whoo, we don't have to do anything.
Yeah,
Okay. Because I'm thinking, well, you just start asking questions anyway. Like, what's the deal?
What's the dealio?
She didn't kill herself.
Exactly.
So this cop goes and does a background check on this dude, and he lives blocks away. Talks to other nurses or whatever at the hospital and says, well, yeah, I do remember something about he was supposed to go to her apartment, I think maybe to work on television, which is what the apparition said through Remy. Yes. He came to my apartment to work on the TV. Okay. So they bring this hospital employee in for questioning. Yes.
You might be asking yourself, does this employee have a name?
I'm just gonna throw some hints and clues out there. I'm thinking he's the AS or the A something.
His name is Alan Showery.
There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. Lock you up.
He admitted to being at Teresita's apartment, but realized that he didn't have the tools he needed, so he went home.
Of course he did. Like, he wasn't there. He don't know what happened.
Exactly. But Detective Stachula felt like his story had holes in it.
No way.
I mean,
like, ding, ding,
it
ding.
don't hold water. So he contacted Alan's girlfriend.
Smart move.
She told the detective that Alan wasn't home that night, but she had no idea where he went. He asked her, he said, well, do you think he possibly could have gone to the apartment to work on a television? And she said that Alan doesn't know how to fix anything.
Uh-oh.
This isn't looking good for Alan.
To get into the apartment.
Absolutely. So Detective Stachula then asks, we just had Valentine's not long after this incident occurred. Christmas had just passed. Any chance Alan gave you any jewelry?
Ooh.
Why, yes. Yes, he did. She went and got 3 pieces. It didn't say what it was, but went and got 3 pieces of jewelry. And she agreed to let Detective Stachula take it with him and let the friends identify it. These 3 pieces of jewelry did contain turquoise.
Ooh.
So he takes the jewelry, and all of the people that he talked to identified that as belonging to Teresita.
Now, like all 3, or at least one piece of it?
All 3 of them.
All 3? Ooh, he was bold.
All 3 of them.
Whoa.
As belonging to Teresita's. They brought Alan back in and showed the evidence against him, and he immediately confessed.
Oh my
to the
gosh.
Murder.
So that's pretty cool.
Like, I don't know how you guys know this, but that's what I did. So after leaving her apartment, he made a plan to murder Teresita because he was short on rent money, and she had a better job at the hospital than he did, so he just knew she had cash.
Oh my gosh. So for money, he decided to kill a coworker.
Exactly.
So that was the whole ruse. Like, oh, she needs help with her TV. I can do this.
Yeah. He gets back to the apartment. She lets him in. When she turned to lock the door, because, don't want any bad guys getting in, and this is a trusted coworker.
Oh my gosh.
Alan attacked Teresita from behind. He removed her clothes to make it look like a sexual assault. He took the mattress and placed it on her body and then set it on fire to
Cover
destroy
anything
evidence.
Up. Okay.
Even though he confessed, he pled not guilty when it went to trial, which led to the first trial ending in a mistrial because one person held off on a guilty verdict because they just didn't believe the paranormal aspect of it and how they got all the evidence, even though everything lined up.
There was no case in between the time. It was 5 months and there was nothing, and then all of a sudden there's like a chance, and it all proved to be true.
Mm-hmm.
That juror's not smart. I'm sorry.
Exactly. But on February 23rd, 1979, Alan pled guilty.
What was the change?
Teresita had been visiting him because he was still held in jail because of mistrial. They can still try you again.
Yeah.
If you're acquitted, they can't.
But it was a
Jeopardy,
mistrial,
but it was a mistrial.
So he was still in jail.
He was still in jail, and Teresita began visiting him and tormenting him in his jail cell.
How was she doing it?
Just in his dreams.
In his dreams. That's called guilt, man.
So he contacted the cops. He pled guilty, and they gave him a reduced sentence
because he was already
guilty.
Oh my gosh!
And only received 14 years in prison.
So is he out now?
He was released in 1993.
I wonder if Teresita is still visiting him and haunting him.
I have no idea. So that is the story of Teresita solving her own murder from beyond the grave. For this story, my bibliography is a very cool website called allthat'sinteresting.com. The article is The Chilling Story of Teresita Basa, the woman whose ghost may have solved her own murder, and unsolvedmysteries.fandom.com, Teresita Basa.
That's pretty cool. I mean, just to think about the aspects of nobody knew anything for 5 whole months, and then all of a sudden, 2 times, the friend Remy
went into that trance
and was telling details.
If it would have been just that one time, that first time, I'd been like, man, I don't know. She was friends with Teresita. She's going to want to see her case solved. She could have just been doing this. But with the aspect of the second time with the jewelry and saying he gave it to his girlfriend, and then the girlfriend was saying, well, yeah, I don't know how you know this, but here it is.
And Remy not knowing that she actually had no clue of what had happened.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The little details of was going there to fix my TV. How'd she know that?
Yeah. But now my thoughts actually go back to if the cops would have been like, I know there's no like physical evidence, but somebody should have had known something. If they would have actually taken the route and was talking to her coworkers, would they have not figured it out anyway? But
Possibly,
that is like a unclear, muddy water, big huge ifs.
Exactly.
The fact goes that through some sort of a paranormal, what have you, the case was solved.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what's next?
All right, so this one comes to us from the 1800s. And I'm just going to read it because...
you haven't got to really study it?
Oh, I've heard it on a few different podcasts and seen I watched a documentary on it.
Okay.
But just so I don't leave anything out, so I'm not trying to do it by memory because my memory's not as good as it once was, and it was never good.
Okay.
So I'm just going to read this. This comes from Wikimedia.com. It's a public domain.
Uh-oh.
And
can facts be changed on it? Can other people edit this?
I don't believe so. I didn't see anything where you could. And it's the story of Elva Zona Heaster.
Okay.
So, one January afternoon in 1897, Erasmus Edward Shue, a blacksmith, sent his neighbor's young boy to see if Elva, Shue's wife of 3 months, needed anything from the market. The boy walked through the front door of the Shue's rural Greenbrier County, West Virginia log house and found Elva lying at the foot of the stairs.
Okay. So she needed something from the grocery store?
Her husband sent one of his employees to their house to see if she did.
Oh, okay, I got you.
And then he was going to go get it.
Sorry, I was a little bit distracted.
Oh, you're good. He stood for a moment looking at the woman, not knowing what to make of the scene. Her body was stretched out straight with her legs together. One arm was at her side and the other rested across her chest, and her head was tilted to one side.
That's creepy. That's absolutely creepy.
At first, he thought she was simply asleep on the floor, because that's what people did apparently back in the 1800s, was just sleep on the floor. He stepped toward her quietly, calling, "Miss Shue." When she didn't respond, he panicked and bolted out of the house. He told his mother what he had found, and she summoned the local doctor and coroner, George W. Knapp. Knapp didn't get to the Shue's house for almost an hour. By the time he arrived, Shue had already gotten home himself and carried his wife's body up to the bedroom, washed her off and dressed her, and laid her out on the bed. He had prepared her body for burial in a high-neck dress with a stiff collar and placed a veil over her face. Such a sweet husband.
Seems awfully quick.
I mean, you got things to do. I mean, yeah, I'm sad my wife died, but the old 1800s of it, I got horses to feed.
Seems suspicious to me.
Knapp went about, this is the doctor, Knapp went about examining the body, Shue cradling his wife's head and crying the whole time.
Right, fake.
But when Knapp attempted to examine Elva's neck and head, Shue became agitated. And Dr. Knapp, who didn't want to provoke him any further, just left. I mean, husbands don't kill wives.
Oh.
He found nothing amiss with the body parts that he did examine, and he had also been treating Elva for a few weeks prior, so he listed the cause of death as, this is going to become my new favorite term of all time,
women issues.
Everlasting faint.
Oh my gosh.
She just died, and then changed it to complications from pregnancy.
Oh, so she was pregnant.
She was pregnant.
Oh.
Elva's body was taken to her childhood home in Little Sewell Mountain and buried, but not before a bizarre funeral where her widower acted very erratically.
No way.
He paced by the casket, fiddling with Elva's head and neck. In addition to the collar and the veil, he covered her head and neck with a scarf. So it's all veiled up, it's scarfed up, he's covering up her neck.
Yeah, he's covering up the fact that he broke it.
In addition to the collar and the veil, he covered her head and neck with a scarf. I just read that again to put that point across.
For emphasis.
I actually lost my place.
It's okay.
It didn't match her burial dress, but Shu insisted that it was her favorite and that she would have wanted to be buried in it. Not only did he do all this, he also propped her head up, first with a pillow and then with a rolled up cloth.
Okay, like why would you want to do that? Is she gonna look at you or
Making sure she's comfortable.
Yeah.
It was certainly strange, but most guests likely chalked it up to the grieving process. Shu was generally liked and regarded without suspicion by everyone in town.
All the more reason to be suspicious.
Everyone, that is, except for Mary Jane Hester, Elva's mother. She never liked Shu, and even without evidence, she was convinced that he had murdered her daughter. If only Elva could tell her what happened, she thought. So what did she do?
A seance.
She decided to pray
Oh, okay.
for Elva to somehow come back from the dead and reveal the truth about her death. She prayed every evening for weeks until finally her prayer was answered. Hester claimed her daughter appeared to her in a dream 4 nights in a row to tell her the story. Supposedly, the spirit appeared first as a bright light, gradually taking a human form and filling the room with a chill. Elva's ghost confessed to her mother that Shu cruelly abused her every night, and one night attacked her in a rage when he thought she hadn't made any meat for his dinner.
Huh.
I mean, you got to have meat with your meal. You can't just survive on vegetables and fruit.
Yeah, let's ask all the vegetarians if you can survive on that.
That's right. He got so mad at the fact that she didn't fix any meat with the meal that he broke her neck. The ghost said that she turned her head. As the ghost said this, she turned her head completely around. Then the ghost turned and walked away, disappearing into the night, while staring back at her mother.
Ew, scary, because her head was backwards.
She's walking away, but watching her mom the whole time.
That's a nightmare, man.
Hester went to the local prosecutor, a man by the name of John Preston, and spent the afternoon at his office trying to get him to reopen the case. Whether Preston believed her story about the ghost, we don't know, but Hester was persistent and convincing enough that he began asking questions around town. Shu's neighbors and friends told Preston about the man's strange behavior at the funeral, and Dr. Knapp did admit that his examination had been incomplete. It was enough for Preston to justify an order for a complete autopsy, and 3 days later, the body was exhumed, despite Shu's objections.
Well, of course.
Dr. Knapp and 2 other doctors laid the body out in the town's 1-room schoolhouse to give it a thorough examination.
Whoa.
Can you imagine walking into your classroom Monday knowing that on Saturday there was an autopsy on one of the desks?
Nope. We'd be saging and walking around sometimes praying.
A local newspaper, the Pocahontas Times, later reported that on the throat were the marks of fingers indicating that she had been choked. The neck was dislocated between the first and second vertebrae.
Whoa.
The ligaments were torn and ruptured. The windpipe had been crushed at a point in front of the neck.
Whoa.
So not only did he break her neck, but he strangled her.
Mm-hmm.
It was clear Elva's death was not natural, but there was no evidence pointing to the killer and no witnesses. Shu's strange behavior since Elva's death stuck in Preston's mind and cast suspicion on him. At the same time, Elva's mother, the hero of this story, had described exactly how her daughter was killed before the autopsy was performed. Maybe she had done it, and the ghost story was an elaborate plot to frame Shu. This is all thoughts that the DA was having.
Right, yeah, because an older woman can do all that to a neck.
Exactly.
Okay.
Preston continued to investigate and began looking into Shu's past. He learned that Shu had been married twice before.
What? Let me guess, they died too.
Well, the first one ended in divorce, while Shu was in prison for stealing a horse.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing says the 1800s than having to go to prison for stealing a horse.
Yep.
That wife later told police that Shu was extremely violent and beat her frequently while they were married. His second marriage ended after just 8 months with the mysterious death of his wife. In between these two marriages, Shu boasted in prison that he planned to marry 7 women in his lifetime. The previous wife's mysterious death and Shu's history of abuse were circumstantial, but also enough for Preston to bring him to trial. Hester was the prosecution's star witness, but Preston wanted to avoid the issue of her ghostly sightings. Since Elva's story was relayed by her mother, might be objected to as hearsay by the defense, perhaps hoping to prove her unreliable. Shu's lawyers questioned Hester extensively about the ghost's visit on cross-examination. The tactic backfired.
Uh-oh.
With Hester refusing to waver in her account, despite intense badgering by the lawyer, many people in the community, if not just the jury alone, seemed to believe Hester's story, and Shu did himself no favors, taking the stand in his own defense, rambling and appealing to the jury to look into his face and then say if he is guilty. The Greenbrier Independent reported that his testimony, manner, and so forth made an unfavorable impression on the spectators. The jury deliberated for just an hour and 10 minutes before returning a guilty verdict. Shu was sentenced to life in prison, but died soon after an epidemic tore through the prison in the spring of 1900. Miss Hester, the mom, lived until 1916 and never recanted her story about Elva's ghost. Maybe her story swayed the jury and won the case. Maybe it didn't. Maybe her daughter spoke to her from beyond the grave. Maybe the ghost was all in Hester's head, or maybe it was all a strategic lie. But no matter who saw or believed what, without the ghost story, Hester may have never gone to Preston, and Shu might not have gone to trial. And it ends by saying a historical marker in Greenbrier County commemorates Elva's death and the unusual court case that followed, noting that this was the only case in which testimony from a ghost helped convict a murderer. So, and that
connects to the first one.
Yeah.
That's a good connection.
Mm-hmm.
Very good job, dude.
Thank you, ma'am. And this story is also, the daughter Elva is also known as the Greenbrier Ghost, because this was in Greenbrier County.
Yeah.
West Virginia. And so that is our 2 stories from Beyond the Grave. What kind of grade do you think I might be getting there, Teach?
Well, you didn't really persuade me to fully, wholeheartedly believe in the paranormal.
How did the
But
cops...
you connect them, and that's awesome. Like, that's weird that happens.
Yeah, I'm like 80 years apart.
Yes. And it's like, the mom never recanted and said exactly how the daughter died, and it was proven, just like the other one, Teresita's
with her jewelry.
Yes, like without that, then neither conviction would have happened. I'll have to give you like an A on that. I mean, this is really good.
The crowd goes wild.
How funny.
Thank you, Teach.
You're welcome. Because that was 2 times. I mean, that was awesome. I love it.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So what's going to happen?
I'm going to see what you draw out for this week. What we'll be reporting on for next week.
All right. And just so you know, not that you're like this, but yeah, if you don't like what is cooked or not cooked, then you're gonna have to cook it yourself.
Exactly. I'll be having the best toast ever.
Yes, it could go from barely toasted to over toasted, and it's your choice.
And I'm just gonna smile
and eat it anyway, because
little story behind that. When we were first married, I came home from work one afternoon, whatever, I can't remember. Anyway, asked Teach what we were having for supper, and she looked up at me and was like, toast. And so it's been our running joke ever since.
Yep. Actually, it was you and Talia would come home from work, and me and Sam, we're like, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, and y'all would be like, well, what's for supper? And I'm like, I don't know, what's for supper? Like, I'm not the only one that can cook.
I was trying to make myself sound better.
And so then this is really what happened is, I would cook, and then it dawned on me, so I would feed me and Sam before y'all would get home, and then I would be like, I don't know what you're having.
We've already eaten.
Yeah, we've already eaten. Just clean up after yourself. So that's where, oh no, how about toast? Because that's literally what I would eat, was a piece of toast or a cinnamon roll or something. Because I'm like, I ain't cooking for y'all ungrateful people. Absolutely. Anyway, we don't have toast that often.
Not often. Only on bad days.
Yeah, like, oof, we gotta be real bad. But I drew true crime. I'm excited.
I am too.
You already got an idea?
I've got the story picked out already, and
whoa, silence.
I was trying to think how to word this. He's known, but not as known as he should be. Like I had never heard of him till I heard a story about him on a podcast.
Oh, ooh, an unknown. These are the ones that I really want to find out about.
And he's from a neighboring state.
Neighboring state. Well, that could be like 4 or 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5.
He's from New Mexico.
Okay. Hey, I had a 1 in 5 chance.
You did.
Actually, technically 6, because it actually could have been Texas. We could be 5 states in itself.
Texas. Let's see. Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico, Louisiana. Was that the other one you was thinking? Okay.
Yeah, I was going to New Mexico, Colorado, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana.
Oklahoma's not a state. It's a foreign country.
Well, they're all foreign to us, so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, classmates. We hope y'all have a great week, and we will be back next week with a true crime murderer.
Murderer? Red rum. Class is dismissed.